Hey, welcome back to Get Down to Business, the show about small business jobs and entrepreneurship. I am so excited for this conversation because I'm chatting with the rebrand man from the Rebranding Experts. I'm chatting with Jim Heininger. He leads the Experts of the Rebranding Experts, which he founded in 2017 after 30 years of business and brand strategy experience for Procter & Gamble, McDonald's, Anheuser-Busch, and so many others. Jim, welcome to the program.
Good morning.
Oh, it's great to have you. It's great to have you. This is something that we talk about so frequently, but it's something that's so critical, especially in this time of year as we move into the latter half of 2022. Everybody needs to be thinking about rebranding. But I'm really curious, how did you develop your passion in this space, your subject matter expertise with so many companies, and why did you go off on your own?
Great question. I had 20, 30 years of marketing communications, strategic communications experience working for many of the different, blue chip organizations that you mentioned, and also had a real bend toward change management and helping organizations in transforming themselves and really, kind of setting themselves on a better path for future business. And it all kind of rolled up together, the marketing, the branding, the change management, and found this unique space of helping people through the rebranding of their organization as kind of the culmination and the combination of all those different kind of capabilities. So it's really become my sweet spot and my passion.
That's amazing. So the Rebranding Experts, I know you have become the only agency with the comprehensive services necessary to rebrand organizations. And I want to get started in this conversation in talking about who needs to rebrand and why.
Oh, that's good question. So think of branding, first of all, as differentiating your company. So it's pulling to the forefront the things that differentiate and make you better, be it your products, your services, your leadership, your employees, that really sets you apart from your competition. So rebranding means you need to reset that brand. It means there's something about the brand that is creating a bit of a drag on your business success, and now you need to reinvent it. That could be everything from a merger or an acquisition where you're combining brands and need to figure out how to which brand's going to lead. Could be that the brand itself is kind of worn out and tired and just doesn't have the energy that it used to when you first open the business maybe. Or it could be that you are on a path of strong strategic growth. You've got a new product you want to introduce, you want to expand into a different marketplace, and you need a new brand that is going to really highlight the relevance of who you are and the benefit of buying your products or services to your customers and prospects ahead. So many different reasons you might rebrand. It tends to come down to either need or opportunity as the main driving force.
Okay, absolutely. So definitely that opportunity resonates a great deal. But, frequently people throw around terms around the brand refresh, brand repositioning, rebranding. What actually is the difference between those three terms?
So we see rebranding as the whole, standing up an entirely new brand, with a new name of the company or new name of the product, and changing your organization to be able to support that. So there are other steps that you can take that aren't as aggressive as that, but that can perhaps meet the challenge that you're facing right now. So the first is a refresh, and that's basically a visual makeover, and an upgrade that could be a new logo and new colors, new look to your website. Maybe your packaging has changed. That's a brand refresh, and it's really, think of it as just a visual upgrade to what you're currently doing. Then a repositioning is when you're really needing to present yourself differently to either a new customer segment you're going after, or a new geographic area you're expanding into, or that you need to change the way you've been perceived in the past. And so there you've got everything from your logo and perhaps a tagline that you're going to update. Your customer experience obviously has to change, as well as the kind of brand essence of who you are and why you exist. Now, one of the most recent brand repositionings that a lot of people have seen is Victoria's Secret. So here's this longtime lingerie company that really, put the angels up on fashion shows and on ads and so forth, tall, slender women, wearing nothing but their lingerie and so forth. And society changed and it moved on, and it realized, they were faced with the challenge that women today didn't see that as what they were striving for. There's all sorts of body shapes and sizes. And so they needed to drop that previous brand and really focus on how do we reach more women, be more inclusive. They went out and got Megan Rapone, the soccer star, as a brand ambassador, and help reposition their brand to all women as opposed to just the select women that really appealed to previously. So that's a brand reposition. A brand rebrand altogether is when something like Facebook comes out with a new name, Meta, and they are looking to expand into virtual reality, and they have created a whole new brand, whole new look, whole new marketing campaign to help introduce themselves into that particular business segment now.
Fantastic. And so many of our listeners are both in big business, but also in small business as well. And your examples resonate so much. Thank you for breaking down those terms. Really, I found it fascinating indeed. But as we talk about small business and rebranding, is this relevant? Because no doubt people are nodding their heads furiously as they're listening to this conversation with you, Jim, but they're also wondering, is this relevant to me and in my little entrepreneurial capacity? So, does rebranding matter to an entrepreneur?
Absolutely. In fact, what we're seeing is a lot of organizations coming to us that started out as an entrepreneur who at the time didn't have a good branding resource to help come up with a new name and how they were going to present themselves to the market. And so they picked their own last name, or they came up with a pretty generic sounding name for their company. Well, now they're successful. They're 10, 15 years down the road, and they're finding that name looks really odd now, or it's not working very hard for them, and that they do need to upgrade their brand. They need to come out with a brand that better articulates what differentiates them from their competitors. So we're working right now with a company, for example, that was a family-owned business. The father established it. The daughter took it over. The daughter wants to innovate and do a lot of exciting new things, and she's stuck with the name that her father originally picked, which just doesn't have a lot of energy to it. So we're helping her identify how she can present herself out to her customers and her prospects differently in a way that is much higher level, much more engaging, much more compelling than what the current name is.
So as we have this conversation in 2022, what are some of the greatest challenges in rebranding? And if you can, share any rebranding success or horror stories.
So one of the biggest challenges in rebranding is the selection of a name that not only works really powerfully for you, but the ability to get that name trademarked. So just about every name or word in the English language is used as the name of a company somewhere. And so you have to go through a process applying for a trademark with the US government, which is a little exhausting because you have to find a way to differentiate yourself from others that are in the category. So that's one of the biggest challenges right there. But what we're seeing as a result of it, and everybody will recognize this right away, is companies that have odd spellings of their name. So Lyft, L-Y-F-T, even Uber, as a name originally for rideshare. They're coming up with odd spellings of names because those aren't trademarked, because they look modern and they look great on a little tile app on your smartphone, but they also aren't trademarked in that spelling, and that gives them the ability to go out and to be able to operate under that new brand name. So the good news when it comes to kind of what's happening in rebranding is Facebook really brought rebranding mainstream. That was probably the biggest brand ever to go through a change, and everybody saw it and everybody was aware of it. And so we're all getting a little bit more accustomed to what rebranding is, and the idea of accepting when a company needs to change its name, and it's less of a hiccup than it might have been in the past.
Well, Jim, I have to leave it there because we're going to get cut off by a commercial, and I want to make sure our listeners know where they can get in touch with the rebranding experts. You are the rebranding man. How can we learn more and continue this conversation with you?
rebrandingexperts.com, and all our social platforms are on that same name as well, too.
Well, that's fantastic. Thank you so much for sharing your expertise. I know you've got a lot of experience with some large companies, and certainly appreciate breaking it down for some of the entrepreneurs tuning in as well. And I know on your website, I know you've got your rebranding survey results as well, so we'll send people over there. Definitely check out Rebranding Experts. Quick break, more small business, jobs, and entrepreneurship when we return in just a moment. Don't touch that dial.